Diana Lopez. I'm the partnership specialist for cities and local government in UNDP in New York, and I'm very happy to be here with the colleagues of Metropolis, and we have this effort to bring certain issues that are important for cities and our partners. And we have this kind of exchange very informally, very organically. We listen to cities, and cities tell us, "Oh, we're interested in organizing this particular debate," and we bring like 2 cities or 2 institutions as a dialogue to try and advance and provide solutions to the people in the ground, the local governments. So without further ado, I give the floor to my colleague Andrew Bovarnick, who is the global head for food and agriculture and commodity systems at UNDP. And allow me to introduce the 2 speakers so you don't have to do it. We have with us also Filippo Gavazzeni. He's the head of the Secretariat of the Milan Urban Food Pact that is coordinated by the city of Milan in Italy. And we have Marina Borgatello, who is the coordinator of the Strategic Program of Innovation in Food and Quality in Rosario, Argentina. And finally, we will have some wrap-up comments from our partner Metropolis, represented today by Laura Valdés, who is the Policy and Research Officer in Barcelona. So, Andrew, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Diana, and welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all on this call. And to be moderating it. I am the head of UNDP's global practice on food and agricultural commodity systems, and have been leading this work for many years. So very, very happy to be moderating this. Often when we think about the UN system and food, we think about the food-based agencies in Rome, IFAD, FAO, WFP. But UNDP actually has a very large portfolio and footprint on food and food systems, because of course food is key for achieving all SDGs and is the engine of rural development, and of course plays a key role in urban systems too, hence why we're talking today. So we're more and more focused at UNDP on the concept of food systems, not just production, and view more and more the interconnectedness between producers and consumers and producing countries and demand countries. So for me, I'm certainly not an urban specialist, but I'm very much looking forward to this conversation and to see how we really can understand better and support urban areas and cities in contributing to transforming both local, national, and global food systems. So with that, let me hand over to Filippo from Milan to start us off on the first of these sort of presentations to stimulate all the discussion. So Filippo, over to you.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Diana. It's a pleasure for me to be here today with you. I will share the screen now. I think now it's... Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So today I would like to present you the action that the city of Milan have been undertaking since 2015 towards more sustainable urban food system, both at a local level and at the international level. And I would like to start from, well, the international one. All began in 2015 when the mayor of Milan, during Expo 2015, which aim was feeding the planet, launched a global platform for mayors that wanted to work together towards a more sustainable food system in a very, let's say, practical way. And this is the first, let's say, heritage from the Expo 2015. I said practical way because the Pact is a tangible platform of learn and exchange of good practices, and we are trying to give an holistic approach towards the food system. So as you can see in the slide, we have 37 recommended actions that are clustered in 6 categories of the Milan Pact. So we go from the governance of the food system, so how to create, for example, food councils within the city, to sustainable diets and nutrition, for example, the management of school canteens, or again, to use food as an entry point to involve the fragile part of the population. And we saw this also during the COVID-19 pandemic, both at the, let's say, in the global north and the global south. And then we have all the, let's say, the other part of the chain, so food production, peri-urban agriculture, for example, or food supply and distribution, the management of wholesale markets, and the logistic of food within the city, and then all the action connected to prevent food losses and waste. I said an holistic approach that this concept is also reflecting on something that Andrew just said about food is key to achieve all the SDGs, and you can see also from, let's say, the platform, the framework of action and the variety of the action that mayors can undertake in the Pact. So this is a glimpse, let's say, of the activities of the Milan Pact. We have more than 220 mayors that signed, divided in 6 regions. Every region is led by 2 cities that are elected by the members. You can see in this slide, and I am particularly happy to be here today with Marina. That, let's say, it's a colleague of ours that is because he's in the steering committee representing, together with Belo Horizonte, the South American continent. So thank you so much for your leading role in the Milan Pact. To go ahead with the activities that we are organizing to improve together, to go ahead together towards our objective. Basically, we have 2 main activities. The first one is the organization of regional and global forum, in which mayors, city offices, and international organizations can meet together and discuss and advance on similar challenges. Here you have a map of the cities that hosted a global and a regional forum in this year. Last moment of meeting was in Barcelona last October, and we had more than 500 participants and 100 speakers. So it was a very important forum also after the lockdown. And the next one will be in Rio de Janeiro next October. Apart from this moment, let's say, of intense debate and exchange, we have another important activity that is the Milan Pact Awards. Basically, we ask signatory cities to submit their best food practices, and an international jury of experts evaluates every year the best practices. And through this, apart from awarding, of course, the most innovative practices, we built a library of common, let's say, food policy knowledge that is fundamental to trigger the exchange among cities. It was particularly important also the activities that the cities have done and that we have showcased during the COVID outbreak. So to support cities in facing, let's say, the shock in the food system, we collected more than 100 videos in which cities explain what they were doing, for example, for guaranteeing healthy diets to citizens, or good access to good food, and also to support the food economy, such as management, reshaping, let's say, the management of markets, or supporting the restaurants or the local producers. The next call of the Milan Pact Awards will be launched in 2 weeks, so it will be a very important moment in which cities will share again their innovation in food system. We are also, our aim is also to showcase the role of cities in shaping the food policies, the urban food policies, and we are advocating towards the, let's say, international food agenda on this. And this is just an example of the plenary session that we organize involving cities and stakeholders. It was the only plenary session devoted to showcase the role of mayors in transforming the food system during the United Nations Food System Press Summit. Moving ahead, I think I have 2-3 minutes more. I hope at least. Just would like to mention, let's say, the second heritage of Expo, that is the local food policy, so the Milan food policy. So during Expo, we carried out an intense, let's say, study of our food system, and mapping all the action, the drivers that we have in the municipality and the stakeholders, and we defined 5 priorities. I just would like to mention the one of this priority, that is the fight against food waste. Here you can see in this slide, let's say, a concept of what we have in mind about the cycle of food losses and waste. So you can see, let's say, the bio waste that is treated through a plant that from, let's say, the organic waste create biomethane, electrical energy, and compost, and also CO2 for industrial purpose. But our aim, apart from, let's say, this circular economy approach, is to divert as much as possible food losses from going to the plant. That is the inner circle. In order to do this, and I go to the conclusion, we developed this model of zero food waste hub. Basically, the municipality open this in different neighborhoods, places in which in the morning we gather all the surplus, all the food losses from retailers, supermarket, and company that have canteens inside. And let's say, in this local food waste hub, we create mixes of products, and in the afternoon, charities that are registered, let's say, withdraw these food mixes. We are enhancing the participation, let's say, of the private sector, also through a leverage, the fiscal leverage, because we implemented, let's say, a 20% waste tax reduction for companies that donate food to our food loss and waste hub. If you want, I think I am running out of time. We can go ahead in detail in the question. Just mentioning that this model has been awarded by the EARTHSHOT Prize from the Royal Foundation. So we are happy to spend the £1 million of award towards reinforcing, let's say, our model, and also to transfer this knowledge to other cities of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. Thank you so much for your attention.
Great, thank you so much, Filippo. And you did great on timing, so thank you for that. And we do have some time for a little follow-up questions, and I see a whole bunch coming through the chat, but maybe I'm gonna ask you one with regard to the food waste and the local food waste hub that you highlighted, which looks super interesting. Why don't you elaborate a little bit more on this for us? I saw in your diagrams that 100,000 tons goes to food waste, and at the moment it's only around 2,500 tons being reused. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your plans to scale up these hubs, and how we collectively on the call can help help scale up and to help change these balances to be increasing the reuse of the food as opposed to going to bio waste?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Can I answer now?
Yes, please do. We have a little time.
Okay. From one side, it was fundamental, let's say, the creation of the public and private partnership to establish this model. Let's say the municipality is the coordinator of this model, but we have a lot of partners that are inside. I can reshare in 1 second this slide that might be useful. So the idea is to have these hubs of proximity in all the neighbors, plus one hub that is very important in the wholesale market. That is the hub that is in charge, let's say, of creating the mix, also by adding, let's say, fresh food and vegetable. So we are going to open through this price other hubs and reinforce all the logistic that is managed by the university, the Politecnico of Milan, that is carrying out about, let's say, about the logistic and the monitoring. And at the same time, we will launch an academy to transfer this knowledge to this knowledge and this model that should be, of course, be modified depending on the environment to other cities. Particularly important, and I go to the conclusion, recalling, let's say, your sentence about the multiple, let's say, SDGs that we can achieve. I forgot to mention that our objective is to halve food waste by 2030, and we are doing this through this local food waste hub, and also with other activities that we are carrying out for education in schools and with the school canteens. Also, school canteens is another important driver, another important leverage that municipalities have to drive this change. If you think, for example, to public procurement, but we can maybe we can go ahead on this later. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Filippo. And we still have time. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. One more is mine, and one is from the floor. So it sounds like from your plans, a key element of scale up, of course, is to multiply the number of these local hubs. So to increase the infrastructure, but clearly another key component will be increasing the awareness of the citizens, of the residents, of the consumers as well, to participate in this. So could you, and I think for me this is a key element within food systems in general. How do we better connect consumers to the food? More and more we see a disconnect. People buy food in supermarkets but don't really appreciate where it comes from or how it's produced. And so maybe just a few words, either with regard to the local hub or more general, but what are your plans or activities that you're seeing that are most powerful to help raise awareness amongst consumers and consumer organizations to be really participating in these types of schemes?
Yeah, well, we are particularly, let's say, sensitive to address this concern to the youngest part, let's say, of our citizens. So with the food policy, we have set a variety of action within schools to educate students on how important is not wasting food because of climate change and because of let's say, the wide array of resources that are needed to produce something that they have on the table, for example, during this, let's say, canteen moment. We are very, let's say, keen to say that the meal, the lunchtime in school is it's not just a lunchtime, but it's an educational moment that have the same importance of the, let's say, classes. So apart from, let's say, the educational part, we are also asking students to let's say withdraw what they haven't eaten in school, to bring that home by let's say sustainable bags that we deliver, let's say, every year to our students. Just to conclude about the importance of young people, they are playing a primary role also in the local food waste hub, because a lot of volunteers in the different organizations are young people, and they are particularly sensitive to this. We have also many associations of young people that are working on the open street market. They withdraw fresh food during the days, let's say, of activities of the open street market that are managed by the municipality too.
Great, thanks, Filippo. I love that idea of lunchtime being more than just eating, but an opportunity to educate students about food. That's wonderful. I also hope there'll be some education opportunities for their parents too, but I love what I heard. So one question from the floor is actually if you could elaborate on the fiscal incentives that you mentioned, which is also super exciting and powerful, but particularly if there are any planned or are already in place for sort of SMEs, so the small and medium enterprises, so they can better participate in these schemes.
Yes, thank you. So yes, as municipalities, we have to use the leverage of, let's say, of the public sector. So one of that being the fiscal incentives. The other one is that is very powerful is public procurement. But going back to the fiscal incentive, the idea at the basis of this fiscal incentive is that in the long term, we are not losing money, because the municipality pay a lot for managing food waste, for the logistic, and also for the plant and from everything. So all the food that is diverted from the plant is a long-term, let's say, money that we have in our pockets, and so the 20% fiscal incentive is something that will come back, let's say, in the future. The technical part, the fiscal incentive is the maximum is the ceiling is the 20%, and depending on the amount of food that is donated every year, there is a calculation on the percentage of this let's say the discount, and let's say all the private sector have the access to this incentive. So it's also open for small and medium enterprises if they want to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Filippo. I see there are more questions, general questions coming up in the chat, but I think what we'll do now is hand over to Marina, and then we'll have time afterwards for some of you to ask your questions. Because I see some great questions coming. But thank you so much, Filippo. Super interesting. And Marina, over to you.
Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. Primero quisiera agradecer a Metropolis y al Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo por esta invitación. La verdad que es un placer compartir esta conversación con Filippo, con la ciudad de Milán y con todas las ciudades que están participando. Nosotros valoramos muchísimo este intercambio, esta posibilidad de compartir experiencias sobre políticas alimentarias y sobre sistemas alimentarios en nuestras ciudades.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Metropolis and the United Nations for this invitation and for having the opportunity to have a conversation with Filippo, with the city of Milan, and with all the other cities that are part of this workshop, because we truly value the exchange and the possibility of discussing different policies and experiences on food systems and how to improve them.
Bueno, ordené esta presentación alrededor de 3 preguntas. La primera tiene que ver con cómo está innovando la ciudad de Rosario en la producción urbana de alimentos para lograr un futuro más sostenible.
Well, I have organized my presentation around 3 questions. The first is, how is the city innovating the urban food production to attain a more sustainable future?
Bueno, y aquí quisiera comentarles que la ciudad de Rosario está promoviendo de manera muy intensa la producción de alimentos agroecológicos en las áreas urbanas y periurbanas, y también integrándolas a toda esta producción a los circuitos formales de comercialización y a los circuitos de comercialización de la economía social. Y esto lo hacemos a través de 2 programas.
Well, what we are currently doing in Rosario is to foster agroecological food production in urban and peri-urban areas. We are also integrating them to formal commercialization circuits, including greengrocers, market and supermarket, and to the circuits of the social economy. We are doing this through 2 important programs, the Urban Agriculture Program and the Rosario Green Belt Project.
El programa de agricultura urbana trabaja principalmente con familias en condiciones de vulnerabilidad, ¿sí? En espacios colectivos, ¿sí? De trabajo colectivo que están especialmente equipados con riego, con protección, con herramientas para la producción agroecológica.
Well, the Urban Agriculture Program basically works with families in very vulnerable conditions. They work together in areas that are provided with everything they need. They have irrigation, protection, all the instruments, all the material they need to produce agroecological food.
El programa del Cinturón Verde trabaja con pequeños productores de la agricultura familiar y lo que apunta es a cambiar el modelo productivo hacia la agroecología.
The Green Belt Project works with smallholders. They are farmers, family farmers, and the goal is to move from their current practices to agroecological practices.
Estos 2 programas tienen como objetivos en común. Primero, la promoción de la producción sostenible de alimentos para garantizar el acceso a alimentos agroecológicos de la población. El segundo objetivo tiene que ver con dinamizar la economía local y poder promover la generación de ingresos y de inclusión social a las familias más vulnerables de la ciudad y a estos pequeños productores. Y el tercer objetivo tiene que ver con brindar servicios ambientales para toda la población.
The 2 programs, the Urban Agriculture Program and the Green Belt Project, share some goals. Basically, to foster sustainable production of food and to ensure access to agroecological food for all the population. The second goal is to vitalize local economy and promote income generation and the social inclusion of vulnerable families and smallholders. And the third common goal is to provide environmental services to all the population.
Rosario de alguna manera vuelve a poner en el centro de estas políticas públicas a la naturaleza y a las personas, ¿no? Transformando nuestros sistemas alimentarios y produciendo de manera agroecológica.
Rosario once again puts nature and people at the center of its work. We are hoping to transform our area and our food systems.
Estas políticas públicas datan ya de largo tiempo, surgieron con la crisis del 2001 y para nosotros ha sido muy importante a lo largo de los años ir institucionalizando un marco normativo que nos permita sostener la producción sustentable de alimentos como una política pública a largo plazo.
Rosario public policies go quite a long time back. They started in 2001, and it's been really important for the authorities to institutionalize them, creating a framework, a legal framework that supports sustainable production of food and that set a public policy for the long term.
Rosario ha mapeado todo su suelo urbano y periurbano con el fin de identificar todos aquellos espacios que son factibles para la producción de alimentos, y hemos trabajado para establecer todos estos instrumentos normativos que garanticen que esta tarea se sostenga a lo largo del tiempo. Actualmente contamos con 10 ordenanzas municipales que regulan distintas cuestiones vinculadas al sistema alimentario, y esto es fundamental para crear confianza entre los distintos actores del sistema.
Well, Rosario has mapped the urban and peri-urban soil to identify those areas and spaces where food can be produced. And we have also worked very hard to set a legal framework that is required to attain this goal. This is something we've been working on for a long time, and we already have 10 municipal ordinances or orders that focus on different issues to ensure the proper food system in the city.
La segunda cuestión que quisiera abordar o conversar con ustedes es cómo los gobiernos locales y metropolitanos están mejorando las condiciones de vida de los trabajadores de la alimentación, de todos, de los productores, los cocineros, los comercializadores, todos los que forman parte del sistema alimentario.
The second question I would like to approach now is how local and metropolitan governments are improving living conditions of those food workers, as we may call them, all of them, producers, cooks, those that are involved in commercialization, because they are all part of what we are trying to attain.
Marina, perdón, un segundo. For the translator, I think a lot of the audience it's a bit fuzzy. We're hearing you loud, but a bit fuzzy. I don't know if we can change the mic, because we hear Marina very clearly, but you're coming across a bit fuzzy. So I don't, it'd be good to...
Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes. I wish I had interrupted before. Okay, thank you. And the slides as well. The slides are not moving, so I don't know who's moving the slides, but we're still on the front slide.
No pasan las diapositivas, que no sabe quién está haciendo correr las diapositivas. Las ven, pero no pasan.
Ah, no sé. Bueno, seguimos mientras vemos si podemos avanzar con el tema de las slides. Bueno, la pregunta era cómo los gobiernos locales y metropolitanos están mejorando las condiciones de vida de los distintos actores de la cadena, y ahí nosotros nos hemos dado 3 estrategias. La primera tiene que ver con integrar a los trabajadores y a sus familias con todas las políticas de promoción de derechos para prevenir, para abordar, para reducir las desigualdades y garantizar el acceso a bienes culturales y sociales. Nosotros aquí en toda Sudamérica tenemos una desigualdad muy fuerte.
So the question was, how are local and metropolitan governments improving the living conditions of what we can call food workers, all of them, producers, cooks, those involved in commercialization? The municipality has got 3 strategies. First of all, trying to integrate all the workers and their families in the right promotions policies aim at preventing, approaching, and reducing inequalities so as to ensure their access to cultural and social assets. We have to remember that in Latin America, inequality is a big issue. We have big inequalities in the continent.
La segunda cuestión tiene que ver con la promoción de estrategias de comercialización de cercanía. Para nosotros es central vincular productores con consumidores y comercializadores de la manera más directa y cercana posible. Esto, además de facilitar distintas cuestiones, también genera mucha confianza entre los distintos actores del sistema alimentario.
The second strategy is to promote specific strategies or programs to have the commercialization hubs close to people, because this strengthens producers, those involved in commercialization, and consumers. Creating this strong link between them creates trust, and this trust is very important.
Y la tercera estrategia tiene que ver con mejorar de manera directa el hábitat de los trabajadores a través de infraestructuras ambientales por un lado y sanitarias por otro. Aquí tenemos algunas cuestiones básicas de nuestros productores y comercializadores sin resolver, unos niveles de vulnerabilidad muy extrema, donde a veces asistimos a los productores, por ejemplo, con instalaciones de baños modulares, o con piletas de lavado de frutas y verduras, o con un sistema de riego, y después, por supuesto, todo lo que tiene que ver con la remediación de suelo, es decir, a veces transformamos un basural en una huerta para la producción agroecológica, mejora las condiciones de hábitat, no solo de los trabajadores, sino también de todo el entorno inmediato.
Well, we also try or really work on improving the habitat of workers by providing them with better environmental and sanitation infrastructure. Here we have to consider that our producers have very basic needs that are not solved. They live in a very big vulnerability. We have to provide them with toilets, movable toilets, sinks where they can wash the vegetables, irrigation infrastructure. We also work on remediating the soil, which turns very bad areas full of waste into better places where food production can be used. This improved the habitat not only of the producers but of the entire area.
¿Pueden ver la presentación ahora o no? ¿O sigue sin
Can you
verse?
see this? Can you see the slides now?
No, estamos en slide 9. Paró en 9. No sé dónde está ahora, pero ya. Estamos en 9. Eso no está cambiando.
Ok, por último, me gustaría comentarles qué innovaciones hemos implementado en el gobierno local frente a la emergencia creada por el COVID-19.
Well, last of all, I would like to mention the innovations implemented by the local authorities faced the COVID-19 pandemic circumstances.
Aquí los efectos del cambio climático y también el COVID-19 han aumentado la inseguridad alimentaria en toda la región. O sea, lo primero que tuvimos que hacer es implementar una campaña de asistencia alimentaria directa a 300.000 familias de la ciudad.
300.000.
300.000 personas, no familias.
Well, first of all, the climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic have increased food insecurity in our city. So first of all, what we did was to set up a program to assist 300,000 people who live in the city and provide them with food.
Esa campaña fue un trabajo articulado entre distintos niveles del Estado, organizaciones de la sociedad civil, voluntarios, universidades. La verdad que esa fue nuestra primera prioridad.
This campaign to provide food to this number of people articulated different levels of the local government, including the civil society, volunteers, and that was our priority.
Una vez atendida la emergencia, nos centramos en fortalecer todos los espacios de comercialización directa en espacios de bajo riesgo de contagio. Es decir, trabajamos en un esquema de ferias para que los productores, los comercializadores y los consumidores puedan sostener sus actividades con relativa normalidad.
once the food was provided to these people, we concentrated on strengthening what we call the direct commercialization channels. We work in open street markets and we design them to have low possibilities of getting infected by COVID, but allowing producers and consumers to continue with their work and continue being able to have access to agroecological food.
Y por último, lo que hicimos fue crear una plataforma virtual de comercialización por parte del municipio para que los consumidores accedan a los productos de la economía social de manera virtual.
Then the local authorities created a digital platform, an online platform where consumers can buy everything that the social economy produces.
Ahí después dejo el link para que puedan consultarlas quienes quieren, lo dejamos en el chat.
You have the link. The name of this platform is Vidrieras en Red. It's online window shopping, and you have the link there if you want to have access to it.
Y por último, me gustaría comentarles en números qué es lo que hemos logrado hasta el momento.
And now I would like to share some figures with you for you to see what we have achieved.
Bueno, Rosario tiene 126 hectáreas de producción agroecológica.
We have 126 hectares under agroecological production.
157 hectáreas que están en transición agroecológica a través del programa del Cinturón Verde.
The Green Belt Project has 157 hectares in transition to agroecological production.
Producimos 6.300 toneladas de alimentos agroecológicos al año.
We produce 6,300 tons of agroecological food per year.
Tenemos 7 parques huertas, 9 huertas comunitarias y 5 centros de emprendedores.
We have 7 parks where we produce agroecological food, 9 community vegetable gardens, and 5 entrepreneur centers.
Tenemos 381 productores involucrados en los distintos programas, de los cuales el 65% son mujeres, con las cuales trabajamos de manera muy directa todas las políticas de género que tiene el municipio.
We have 381 producers involved in this food production. 65% of them are women, and we are working with these women in every policy connected to gender.
Después tenemos 45 puntos de comercialización directa, una plataforma virtual que era la que comentábamos recién, y las 10 ordenanzas municipales.
We have 45 municipal agroecological commercialization points or direct markets in the city, 1 online sales platform that we have just described, and 10 local regulations, 10 local orders.
Y se me viene a la cabeza otro número que no está aquí puesto en la presentación, pero que tiene que ver con el recupero de frutas y verduras en el mercado de concentración de la ciudad. Recuperamos 300 toneladas de frutas y verduras al año y las distribuimos en 200 organizaciones sociales de la ciudad.
Now, one more number that is not included on the slide. We recover 300 tons a year of fruits and vegetables from the concentration fruit and vegetable market in the city, and distribute that after cleaning them to 200 social organizations that assist vulnerable people.
Bueno, por ahora nada más. Muchísimas gracias.
So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Marina. Wonderful presentation. And so I'm just going to ask one question, one to you. It's going to be the same question actually for you, and I'm going to ask Filippo also to give his thoughts. And then we're going to have a time for a couple of questions from the chat. I've seen a couple of particularly active people I'm going to call on. But you know, you ended with a whole set of achievements, and it's clear that you have a very comprehensive program. And we know there are many, the majority of cities don't do this, even in Argentina. So what is the real, what's the key elements the very top key elements that make Rosario special and able to have these achievements. What is making it different from other cities? Okay, y puedo decir en español.
Todo esto.
Ah, bueno, ya.
Rosario lograr todo esto que en el resto de las ciudades no está.
Bueno, Rosario, la verdad que tiene un tejido social muy interesante, ¿sí? Hay muchas organizaciones de la sociedad civil, muchas universidades, y ha tenido una gestión de gobiernos en los últimos 20 años progresistas que han sostenido estas políticas públicas a lo largo del tiempo.
Well, we can say that Rosario has a very interesting social fabric. There are many civil organizations from the civil society, many universities, and a very important factor is that the local authorities have been in the hands of a very progressive party for the past 20 years.
Estas políticas públicas se han elaborado de manera muy participativa, con mucho consenso general, y creo que lo que mencionaba durante la exposición de el marco regulatorio que la sostiene hace que sean políticas que se sostienen a largo plazo.
Every public policy in Rosario has been achieved in a very participatory manner with a lot of general consensus. A lot of people has been consulted for them, and the setting up of this legal framework makes the public policies a long-term policy, not something that changes all the time.
Sin duda esto ha sido un proceso difícil y complejo porque hay muchos actores involucrados con muchos intereses diversos y lograr estos niveles de consenso no ha sido fácil, pero creo que valió la pena intentarlo y eso es lo que sostiene estas políticas públicas a lo largo del tiempo. Y también el trabajo con las localidades del área metropolitana. O sea, Rosario articula muchísimo, por ejemplo, todo el programa del Cinturón Verde y del periurbano con las localidades que conforman el área de la metrópoli.
It's been a very difficult process, a very complex process. There have been, and there are, many actors involved, many different interests. It was not easy to reach consensus, but it was worthwhile. Also, Rosario is the core of a metropolitan area, and it articulates a lot with all the different cities and villages in the metropolitan area. That is part of the Green Belt project. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile.
Great, thank you, Marina. I think those are really important insights, and I'm sure they're being collected and shared, but thank you for sharing here. Filippo, very quickly, what are your thoughts? What makes Rosario special?
Well, two things I would like to share. The first one is they and also Milan, we have we are lucky in the sense that we can count on the management of agricultural land. And this is an important, could be an important driver of urban food policies. So the way in which you manage and also connect the local production directly with the consumers, and also directly to the public procurement could make the change. Just make an example on Milan. And also would like to share the second important thing that Marina said about public procurement. With our company of school canteens, we provide 85,000 meals per day. So it's a very important, let's say, number, but at the same time, it's a very important leverage. Because we buy every day, let's say every day, a huge amount of food. And it is important to shift, let's say, public procurement to connect it to the surrounding, let's say, to the urban and peri-urban agriculture. And this is something that we are doing with our public company of school canteens. The last interesting point that I want to raise is about the importance of the governance of the land. So cooperate with the other municipality of the metropolitan area. Because if we really want to scale up our impact, we need to cooperate with the land that provide food to the city. So we are spurring the signatory city of the Pact to connect and share objective with the metropolitan area. So I am very happy that Marina touched this point. Is particularly important. Finally, it is also very important to monitor, let's say, the impact that we achieved through our food policies, and for this we have created the monitoring framework of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact together with RUAF and FAO. That is a set of 44 indicators that connects to the 37 recommended action of the Pact and also to the SDGs. So we also spurring cities to use this monitoring framework to assess and progress with a similar framework within the community.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Filippo, and for all those answers. I see there's been a lot of activity in the chat, and I was hoping to get to it, but I also see we're almost at the end of our hour, and I really want to leave time for Laura to close us up. So thank you, Marina and Filippo. You've stimulated lots of conversation. I'm super interested to follow up and see how UNDP can support all of your work. And there seems to be a lot of interest from the participants in this call. So that will be a challenge and opportunity for Diana to see how we take this all forward. But for now, let me hand over to Laura to conclude and wrap us up. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon to all of you from Barcelona. First of all, I wanted to thank you for Marina, Filippo, for sharing these very interesting ideas, your very concrete projects that you're implementing in your cities. And I really wanted to highlight 3 key ideas that I found particularly interesting. The first one would be the importance of really raising awareness, because when we speak about food urban systems, it sometimes can sound a bit abstract and very complex. And nevertheless, it has very concrete impacts on our well-being, on our health, for people, but also for the planet in general. And the example that I really enjoyed was the one of Milan on raising awareness internationally via the Milan Pact, but also locally, a lunchtime at a time. So I thought that was very interesting. Then the second idea that I wanted to bring forward is that food is such an all-encompassing issue. It has such a great importance in our life. It connects with our culture, with the places we live in, and it really shapes our whole life. And it has this great potential to address social inequity in our metropolitan spaces. And Marina, with your example in Rosario with the Green Belt, I thought that really highlighted the importance of bringing opportunities, really improving conditions for women, for farmers, but also for vulnerable communities. And the metropolitan perspective that you brought in the Green Belt was very fascinating. And that really brings me to my last point, and is the importance of sustainability and resilience in urban food systems to respond to, one, the climate crisis, but also the emergencies that we are living today, being COVID, but also war and conflict. And this really shows us that food systems, they can be very vulnerable, and we have really a responsibility to act and to transform how we produce and how we consume food, but also to ensure food security for all. And really to conclude, just to say that at Metropolis, we really focus on metropolitan governance, and we are really working on two main challenges: urban growth and resilience. And food really is a key aspect of both of these challenges. So we do really look forward to continuing the conversation with all of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Laura. And it looks like we're going to wrap up in time. So for those who have a call on the hour, you have a quick time to get a coffee or have a snack. And when you do, I encourage you all to think about what you're eating and tasting and where it might have come from, and if it was from a local producer. Anyway, Marina and Filippo, again, thank you. Very inspiring. I'm feeling excited. And Laura, for your work in Metropolis, and for everyone on the call. And I hope we can continue this conversation and deepen collaborations, and we're here to support. I live in Panama, and Panama City certainly needs all the help it can get. So I'll welcome you here too. But for now, let's just wrap up and say goodbye. And Diana, hopefully you'll send out this webinar and any suggestions on how we keep the conversation going. But muchas gracias a todos.